represent, and you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, Alex Mead for myself against the bill. Usually I like to print out or write down the things that I bring to hearings, but The Economist actually released this article today that I have on my phone. They aren't a super bleeding heart liberal publication. I think they're far too British to care about being hyper-partisan in our politics. And what they found is that in US counties that had more in-person voting rates in the November election, in the ensuing month, there was more growth in COVID-19 cases. Even after controlling for 22 different variables, they concluded that, quote, if no one had voted in person on election day, 220,000 fewer people would have been diagnosed with COVID-19. And again, this is in the United States. So a lot of the innovations that we saw in this past election cycle, things like drive-through voting, things like making sure that everyone was aware of their right to vote by mail, a lot of those were in response, at least in my view, to the pandemic and making sure that everyone was able to exercise their right to vote in the midst of a pandemic. And hopefully we don't have another pandemic anytime soon, but I'm still surprised that we have provisions in this bill that, for instance, would ban county officials who are supposed to be helping people vote legally, banning them from informing people about their right to vote and giving them perhaps unsolicited mail ballot applications, or provisions that would ban drive-through voting. I don't see where the nexus is between those provisions and improving the security of elections. Beyond that, I mean, I would go on, but I see that little timer box over there. The provision that requires you to provide a driver's license or a social security number on an early ballot application, I like the idea, but I've registered voters as a VDR, and I've seen people will put one number or the other, their driver's license or their social security number, not really remembering which one. And I don't want there to be a case where someone puts the wrong number on their early ballot application and then it gets thrown out without any fault of their own. So I agree, voting should be easy, cheating should be hard. I just think there are some provisions of this bill that don't accomplish that as well as they could.
Okay. Members, questions of Mr. Mead?
Just want to say thank you for...
Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Before we get to Birdie,